Okay, we are recording. Joe, how are you today?
I'm good. You know what? I am recovering from a really nasty flu, so feeling a little bit kind of groggy, but I'm getting there. Got a show
Bouncing back.
tonight, so I've got to bounce back, you know? How are you?
Well, it's good that you're going to kind of get it out of the way before all the kind of Christmas hysteria, right?
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah,
Exactly. You'll be
get it out of the way.
bulletproof throughout the whole of Christmas now.
Oh my God, I know. Can't wait. Just gonna get drunk.
Are you a fan of Christmas?
Yeah, I love Christmas.
It's all right,
Absolutely.
isn't it?
Yeah, I get to go home, back to cheddar.
Oh, nice,
Yeah.
nice. Oh, we'll talk home a little bit later when that song pops up. But where's home currently? Where are you?
So I am in my bedroom in North London.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, I live with a bunch of cheddar friends up in London, so I got a slice of home.
Lovely, lovely. A little slice of cheddar. Sorry, I can't not do that. That was such a I'm
You're
51.
allowed.
I'm
You're
in
allowed.
dad joke territory, mate. Sorry. Um, Joe, let's kick off your playlist, mate. And I'm going to ask you, please, to tell me first of all what you regard as the song that has the greatest ever intro, please.
The greatest ever intro.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh. Um, well, I think just because okay, I really need to think about. Oh, I do think "Linger" by the Cranberries is one of the best intros of all time. It goes
Okay.
on for like um a minute of just like instrumental, and then it goes into the song. It's really great. I think that's one of the great intros of music.
You've got that kind of little. She does do a little. Am I right in saying she does do a little bit of a little sort of a bit of wailing before the rest of it comes in. Just is that little kind of sort of soft intro before the kind of guitar overlay comes in. You do
Yeah.
get a little bit of Delors' voice, right?
I don't, do you know what? I think it's just, I might be wrong. We should maybe play it, but I think it's literally just instrumental. And then it comes in with the song like after like a good minute, maybe.
It's a beauty linger, isn't it?
Oh, I think it's one of the best songs of all time. It's so delicate, yet so hard.
Yeah.
It's so, yeah, it kind of tickles the brain.
So, Joe, when I'm of an age where I was probably in my prime when Linger come out, um, and the world was a very the music industry, I should say, was a very different place then, where you could go and explain to the label that you've got this single, but it's got a 1 minute instrumental intro before anything particularly epic happens. Um, and a label would entertain that, which I think in this day and age it probably wouldn't happen. Um, and so and also this was before when this record first came out. This was before streaming. This was before
Mm.
other things that people are utilizing now to market their music, such as socials like TikTok and things like that. These kind of things that are now being used to market music, and the fact that it feels that there seems to be more pressure on artists to stand out from anything else that's constantly sort of streaming onto these Spotify and the like. So I think that puts pressure on artists to kind of grab them quickly because attention spans seem to be shrinking. I'm going right the way around the houses here, Joe, with this question, but I'll get there.
I love it. I do the same.
But what I'd like to know is, do any of these changes and any of these shortening attention spans, does any of this stuff filter through into your creative process when you're making music?
Um, I need to think about that. Um, to be honest, so I'm also a songwriter. So I write for lots of other artists and like, drum and bass and dance and all of that. And if I'm honest, I try and just focus on crafting a really a song that conveys an emotion, that makes you feel a certain way, that tells a certain message. And I think if that song does that in the right way, if it makes you feel sexy at the drop, if it makes you feel like fucking crying at the chorus, then I think ultimately that's what all you can ask for, and then it might do well on social media. But I think as soon as you start writing for that purpose, going, we need to write something like this. Whenever I've been in a session where someone's tried to rip off a something that's had a moment or gone viral, it never has yet quite worked. Whereas when you write something totally original, like I wrote this song called Big Boys Cry Too, and I fucking hate TikTok. Between me and you, I really don't like it. But I'm learning to do it because it's part of the job. And I was never sat there for 1 second in that session going, oh yeah, this will do really well on TikTok, or
Yeah.
this will do. And it just so happened that I kind of posted a bit about it in the message, which was a really personal message behind the song. But to be honest, I had to lie slightly about who the song was to protect a family member. That really connected. And then another song that I did that was all about kind of heartbreak of being dropped by a label and trying to get over it. That again connected, but it was never it was more just me going, this is the song and this is the message behind it. And I had a really clear like understanding of what it was that is coming from a place of truth. That's when I find it resonates. But sometimes it doesn't as well. But I really, in short to your answer, occasionally, yeah, if I'm having like a lazy day and I'm in a dance session and I'm like, yeah, that will work really well on TikTok. I find myself doing that. But I think we all do, but I really, with my own artist project, don't think about
Yeah.
that. It's kind of an afterthought that I make the music, I come up with the body of work, the ideas, and then I go, wow, okay, this could be really cool for that for socials, and you could do it like this, and you could do it like this, rather than the other way around, which I don't know, maybe I should be doing, but it doesn't work. It hasn't worked for me so far. I don't feel inspired by that, so I think you got to do what you're inspired by, right?
100%. 100%. John, I'm going to ask you for the second track, and that's the first song that you remember hearing that had an emotional impact on you.
The second track. Oh wait, we're not starting with the first track.
The first song you remember hearing that had an emotional impact on you.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so out of the ones I've chosen.
Uh, right, have
Oh,
we? Has there been some confusion here?
I've got 7 tracks.
So, have you chose 7 tracks that mean a lot to you?
Yeah.
Right, there should have been some leading questions for them.
Okay. So
Hence,
I've got seven
I
tracks.
thought that like when I asked you about an intro and you come out with the cranberries, I thought I've got Ma Baker by Boney M here. This is quite surreal, which has got a great
Oh,
intro, by the way.
sorry. Okay, sorry. So I just chose 7 songs. Just for anyone listening, there's been a miscommunication. I chose 7 songs that kind of marked me growing up and creativity and mean a lot to me, but I didn't get the specific questions, but we can do the
I'm
specific.
going to put you right under pressure now, and I'm just going to throw them at you,
Okay.
and
And
so yeah, let's see how you get along with batting them back. So, I
what a
want
link to the songs I've chosen.
no anything,
Oh,
anything.
wow. Okay. All
So,
right. Well, I'll have the songs I've chosen up in front of me as well.
well, look, Joe, just cast your mind back and have a think to that moment when the first song that you remember hearing that just kind of really resonated emotionally with you.
Um, so I've got there's 2 that could work for that, but I think
You can have an honourable mention as well, mate.
okay, great. Well, I think being a so I studied, so I didn't like go to music school or anything, but I studied music, GCSE and A level in my school in Cheddar. And the teachers were so rubbish. I basically had to teach myself. But sorry, dissing my Cheddar school. But because of that, I had to really get into what I was studying and kind of got lost a bit. I remember during A level, when we were studying Shostakovich, his Fifth Symphony. And this is a bit of classical music, and I think it's is it the third movement? Um,
Fifth, isn't it?
wait, am I going to so it's third
So
movement of the
Fifth
Fifth
Symphony.
Symphony.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, and I remember reading about it and listening to it, and I'm a bit of a I love history. Absolutely love history, and for me this was the first bit of music where I was like, oh my God, this is like beyond like emotion. This is expressing the whole way a nation feels, but in this like secretive way. It's a mad story. Basically, Shostakovich was like, Stalin basically was in power, and he was like, Shostakovich, you need to go and write me the best symphony that I love, or I'm going to kill your wife and your child. And so Shostakovich went into hiding, wrote the symphony. This was, during a time of mass starvation and suffering in Soviet Russia, and he wrote this beautiful symphony. But on the surface, Stalin loved it, and it was all kind of like made sense. But actually, if you look into it, there's so many secret hidden messages in the symphony that's kind of reflective of the reality of the times, and a bit of a like fuck you to Stalin. And the third movement is just a reflection of the desperation and the emotion that Shostakovich felt towards this situation, and it's kind of like crying for his country. It feels to me, and like I kind of read lots up on it, and it was saying this is the one that's kind of like, that he was in an orchestra that was so hungry that they started eating their cases because it had leather in it. Um, and like that's just to give you a bit of like context of how I did study this about God, how many years? 10 years ago, almost 8 years ago. So my memory isn't 100, but I do really remember that's really stuck with me. And listening to this, I just listen to it sometimes and get emotional, because it's the bravery of someone to do that, to write such a beautiful, like it's harrowingly beautiful is the word I use to describe it. I sound like such a poncy wanker, but um, but I'm going there. And
Yeah.
yeah, this is like a bit of music that, and I played it in an orchestra. I was second violin. I'm never first, never good enough to be first, but I played it, and I remember we played it in a cathedral, and oh, there's people crying in the crowd, and it's just it's so sad. It's just beautiful.
That's a
Like,
crazy story.
yeah, yeah. So I had to put that on there.
I I literally thought Simon Cowell was one of the most evil people in the recording industry. I did not know Stalin had a record label back then.
Stalin Records.
That level of pressure on his artists. I will kill your family.
Yeah, he
Jesus.
was like, you need to do 10 TikToks a day. It's not none of that. God, we were lucky. No, I'm joking.
Oh my gosh. Oh wow. That's a beautiful piece of music. It really is. You mentioned cheddar and growing up. We're going to move on to school in a moment, but tell me a little bit about home back then. Was home a musical environment?
Yeah, so um basically, home was like I was brought up in Cheddar, and my dad he studied music at uni, but never became a musician because he didn't, see a way of making a living out of it. But he's like such a musical man. He's in a funk band called the Funkadillies with my builder and our vegetable delivery guy and like loads of the BBC weatherman. um, which is it's a really funny band of like all these amazing musicians from all around like my hometown. And then my grandma was an opera singer, so she was going to be an opera singer, but then she got pregnant at 18 and ended up becoming a mum. But I think always carried on singing, and she was like incredible. And she'd bring whole rooms to tears, like singing "Oh Danny Boy," and I think those, and then my mum as well. She was always singing when she grew up and played the piano. I think they just like really really encouraged us, me and my brothers, to like be into music from a young age. But oh my God, I hated my dad would make me practice the piano all the time, and I hated it. And now, thank you, Dad, making me do that. But yeah, he got me playing the piano age 10, and then he bought a violin on his honeymoon with my mum, and he's taught me that when I was 9. And then I just kind of yeah, so I've been picking up instruments along the way, um, and started writing songs aged like 13. I think it was my first like proper song when my auntie really sadly got diagnosed with brain tumor, and I remember I wrote a song for her. That was like my first song I wrote. Um, and then I just kind of kept writing songs for people I love and like events that happened in my life. And when my grandma died, I sang at her funeral, and my grandpa died, I sang at his funeral. So it seems to be a lot of singing and death. But I think, yeah, I always knew that I there was something special. I felt something special when I sang. There was like some kind of special energy. Um, and especially when it came from a song that I'd written. And then yeah, went on like a crazy journey. Didn't Went and lived in the Middle East for a bit, studied Arabic, and then ended up falling like coming back into music. Went on a detour and then got back to doing music.
We'll,
Um,
we'll pick back up on that in a moment, but I want to keep you in the sort of formative years for this question,
yeah,
Joe. And I'm going to ask you to tell me about the song that reminds you of school.
well, that would have to be Mel Baker. Um, that my mum that reminds me of being aged like 4 to 10. My mum would play it all the time, and she'd chase us around the table. Because it's got that kind of like, yeah, that speed to it. And I just remember being like obsessed with Ma Baker. I was like, who's Ma Baker and what did she do? And she sounds like a badass. And I really resonated with me, like the storytelling of Ma Baker. So yeah, that's my school anthem.
It's such an interesting thing, Boney M, because they kind of get forgotten. And I think around the kind of late 70s and early 80s, they were one of the biggest bands on the planet. They were so huge. And, and I guess sometimes, I don't know, you're probably not necessarily going to get them played at the cooler
Mm.
soul events. But for me,
Yeah.
Daddy Cool. I mean, it's a
Mm.
fucking tune. Mark Baker's fucking tune. Like
Very good.
they've got like Rivers of Babylon. There's so many good songs, and they're going to start busting out the Boney M Christmas song as well now. But yeah, I think they've got some absolute bangs because if I'm right, they're German, aren't they? Boney M.
What are they? I didn't know that. I'm just on their Spotify right
I
now.
think it was a German like songwriting
Um, oh
team.
yeah, German record producer Frank.
Yeah, and he wrote the songs and fronted them because the guy in the band that you hear the vocals for like tracks like Rasputin and stuff like that, and the
Yeah.
Christmas song. The guy that you see in all the videos, he was just a dancer. He didn't actually sing on anything. He was just part like the guy that he's the one the front man, I guess in Boney M didn't actually do anything other than just look cool and dance. He was very good at it,
Oh
but
wow, I love that. So it's a
uh,
bit of a jungle situation. So the
yeah,
lead wasn't in the videos and stuff.
yeah. There you go. A bit of Boney M facts for you there. And um,
Eunice Cat. Oh, I love that one. Rasmussen's so good.
Joe, tell me about school. Did you enjoy it?
Um, do you know what? I was so lucky that I grew up in a really friendly small community where everyone knew everyone. I think I've really enjoyed school from the age of kind of like 10, 11, 11 onwards. Up until 11, I was a compulsive liar and a massive weirdo and I had no friends. And
Hang on, we ain't skipping past that, mate. Okay. Most elaborate lie, please.
oh God, that I had a zoo in my house and
Oh,
that I
God.
was adopted.
You had a zoo at home.
That I had a zoo in my garden.
Oh, that's
To my friends who came round, and I don't know what in me thought she's not gonna notice that I don't have a zoo, but
yeah.
she came round my house, and I told her I had snakes and tanks and like horses and stuff. And she came round to my mum. She was like, where's the snakes and where's the horses?" And my mum was like, Well, we've got a rat infestation downstairs, and our neighbours have some horses. But yeah, she was very embarrassed for me.
Wow.
Yeah, not great.
Okay. Well, look, I'm gonna move forward and I'm gonna ask you to tell me the first record or the first song that you remember buying from a record shop.
Oh, probably I'd have to say it would either be, it's really close. It would either be Avril Lavigne, um, Avril Lavigne Girlfriend.
Mhm.
Was that the
Yep.
record or the single?
That was a single, wasn't it?
Yeah, so that was on The Best Damn Thing, or it was um I'm just trying to find it. It was the first it was Busted in 2002.
So tell me about because this is interesting, like to kind of you've just chosen two acts like that there
Hmm.
because I think for my generation growing up, hitting kind of those that sort of secondary school age, there was nothing that was a kind of gateway into guitar music, whereas Avril Lavigne and Busted, they're like your kind of your soft launch into it, aren't they? They're like that they were essentially a boy band and a really cool pop star, but
Hmm.
played guitar music. And was that did that appeal to you more than what was going on in maybe more commercial pop types music, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I think I grew up listening because I had an older brother and he was super into like indie music, like Franz Ferdinand, Arctic Monkeys, everything. Um, I just listen and but it started with Busted and McFly, and then I think got more kind of like indie. I just grew up with that, rather than Britney or like, oh no, that's a lie. I mean, I got the Now CDs every year. I think I've got a weird talent of I could probably tell you like the order of the songs of specific nows because of how
Well,
many.
I'll tell you what, I can't believe you just said that. I can't believe you just said that. This question, my first ever record I ever bought, this is how old I am, was the first ever Now album. Uh,
You're
and
joking.
and I can tell you the track listing to this day because I just rinsed it.
Wow. Bring
And
that now. Wow, that's what was the first one?
it was just called Now That's What I Call Music. But I've had the guy on this show that put it together.
Yeah.
So the guy that put this like the Now compilations together, such a fascinating guy, and he also set up the Mercury Music Awards as well, and he he basically at the up until like 1983, all compilation albums were just from one label. So if you got the best of whatever, like the best album of 1981, it would have been through Epic Records or Sony Records or whatever. And he liaised with because he worked for Virgin, and then he spoke to the other labels and put together Now That's What I Call Music, and that was the first ever compilation that featured artists from multiple labels.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, and it become I think the first Now compilation is still one of the, like the biggest selling records of all time. I think as far as compilations go, Now have cleaned up for the last 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he then went on to set up the Mercury Music Awards. He's a fascinating fella.
Wow, that is amazing. I mean, what a legacy.
Yeah,
Like he's
all right.
made he's soundtracked so many teenagers' lives.
But
Summers, Caroline.
he had this other mad little story where he worked in Virgin Records in Manchester in
Mm,
like in the maybe 77
mm,
and basically his mates were in a band called the Buzzcocks and and basically this record Spiral Scratch EP by Buzzcocks is this if you don't know I don't know if you know it or not it's this kind of pivotal moment in punk music, and
mm.
it's such an important record. This EP, and they'd only run off about 100 copies, and they'd sold out in Virgin Records. So the Buzzcocks walked in and said to him, we've run out of records. We need to get some more press. So he took some money from the safe, gave it to the Buzzcocks, and said, "Go and get more press, but you have to sell them here." Richard Branson found out, obviously he owned Virgin Records, found out what he'd done, and was like, "Mate, that's such a smart move." Rather than sacking him, he went, "You've just kind of made this music happen. You've created the Buzzcocks gone on to be this huge band." So yeah, he's
Wow,
a pretty inspirational dude.
that's amazing. What's his name?
Oh, you know, I knew you was going to ask that.
No, we'll
It,
find out
it's
after.
John. His name's definitely John, but I can't for the love of me think what his second name is. But
Or
he's going to drive me mad. But it's in the archive of this show, and yeah, he's got quite some story. But
got John.
okay, let's go clubbing. I'm going to ask you now, Joe, to tell me
Yeah.
the song that soundtracked your years clubbing, please. I mean, you're
Oh,
young. You should still be clubbing.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you, Mary's Joe. I'm very much clubbing. Um, so I think I might have to go if we're talking. Um, where is she? It's not on my list, but now you've said it, and I'm thinking of the um oh my gosh, what are they called? Oh, Bicycle Rider by Munga's Hi-Fi.
I don't know this. Tell me more.
Um, basically, it's kind of like let me go on their profile. Um, it's what's the word? Kind of jungly. Um, it's a Glasgow-based sound system. And they make kind of reggae dancehall music. Um, and I used to love them in my like kind of Bristol years. I think when I was like 17, I it was the first time I kind of got off my face at a festival, Glastonbury, watched them play. And I just remember that song being like the soundtrack of my first experience, like my first proper festival. Like, yeah, I think I was 16 or 17. Um, and I just, that song just forever will just give me kind of like butterflies, being like, yeah, I mean, festivals kind of clubbing, right?
Yeah, of
Uh,
course.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That song for me is like a really um potent song for that. I need to add
I,
that to the list.
I want to sort of go back to something because you've just dropped another thing in there, and I'm just trying to sort of picture a timeline of your life so far. You mentioned you lived in the Middle East for a while,
Mm.
and then you've just dropped in my Bristol years, and it's like you're still brand new. How have you managed to do all of this? And so give that a little bit of context. That like give us some information on living in the Middle East, how that come about, and then obviously Bristol.
Well, so I grew up in Cheddar, and then when I was 18, I left home and I moved to Bristol for a year. And that was like the best year ever. I basically was just like doing a theatre course, applying for like music school. I was a nut. I was applying for opera school, drama school, and Cambridge, like just anything and everything. But I was living in Bristol, working there, in lots of different like bands and projects, and I'd just go out pretty much every night, and there'll be like a different. It's just the best place, and like the live music scene, Gloucester Road, Lakota. Like I'd go out clubbing every weekend easily, and then yeah, I absolutely loved it. And that was kind of like work and play. I'd describe that year, and I was like writing lots of music for theatre. I was in this kind of year-long theatre course, and then I went to Edinburgh for 4 years, and I studied when I was 19, and I studied Arabic at university, Arabic and anthropology, and that's what led me in my third year. I did a year abroad, so 3 years in Edinburgh and then 1 year in Jordan, where I was. That's kind of where I fell into proper songwriting, if I'm honest with you. Before then, I was writing, but like not writing, not sitting at the piano for quite a while and writing song after song. And I met some producers out there, and they were obsessed with Western music, and I wanted to learn the oud and, you know, Middle Eastern music or whatever. I mean, obviously, that's a very broad thing, but like Jordanian music. And so then, yeah, I did a whole dissertation on kind of music in Jordan during Ramadan. And
Wow.
it was amazing. And yeah, was such an experience. But whilst I was out there, I got very unlucky. I got Lyme's disease. I got bitten by a tick. So I was proper poorly. And that blessed tick is what led me into songwriting because I couldn't really do anything apart from obviously at the time it was really tricky. I was so tired. I couldn't walk more than 10 minutes. I had to lie down all the time. But the doctors were like, you need to find something really mindful and calming. And so that's where the songwriting came in. And it would just kind of help me um, get through that period. So that's and then yeah, a few years later, I'm here. I finished uni, then I moved back to Cheddar for a bit, worked on a strawberry farm, and then moved to London. I've been in London for like 2 or 3 years now.
Wonderful. I'm not usually this colour. I know I'm from Essex and most people are this colour, but I've just come back from an adventure up the Nile.
Oh my gosh, wow.
Arabic is not easy, Joe.
Yeah, I was gonna say you are looking glowing.
Yes, and yeah, I was trying my best to not just be that, ignorant Englishman abroad, but oh my God, Arabic's really, really tough.
Well, that's one of the songs on my list. I yeah, I mean it's literally the hardest thing I've ever done and
Yeah.
probably the hardest thing I ever do unless I want to study rocket science next. So yeah, it's so hard and I'm
Yeah.
a very driven person and I get I full I really get into things. So I really got into Arabic and it was really hard. It's like translating passages of the Quran and like it was mental, but it's beautiful. It's such a beautiful language and um I'm starting lessons again over Christmas actually, which I'm really excited about because
Oh, wonderful.
great
Wonderful.
language.
Well, I presume you'll be going home for Christmas.
Yeah.
And so that is my little segue into the next track, which is a favourite song from an artist from your home county, please, Joe.
Oh, from Somerset.
Yeah. What you got down there?
What have we got in Somerset?
Where are Muse from? Are Muse from Somerset?
God, I actually all I know Ben Howard's from Cornwall. Who's
Oh,
from Somerset? Um, Surely because it's not Bristol. It's the Wurzels. It's kind of I think
oh,
that
if you got Bristol, you got hundreds. But
yeah, but Bristol's not my county.
yeah,
Um, oh, Portishead.
what is
Portishead
it?
was that.
I was about to say, where are they from? Is that not Bristol? They're from Portishead, aren't they? That God.
Yeah, Portishead, and then you got the Wurzels. That's kind of it, really, from Somerset. Um, Mary Berry, it's saying as well. I swear she's on Bake Off. Yeah, Portishead. I mean, absolutely love them.
Give me a track.
Three Box. That's their like main one, isn't it? I
Mm,
remember seeing that for A level. Yeah, Glory Box.
yeah.
Portishead.
If you've never heard it, Joe, I can't recommend when I mean to be of an age when that whole Bristol thing exploded with the Wild Bunch and Massive and
Mm.
Portishead, Tricky. It was so exciting. The fact that this one place had this such of a definitive sound, it was
Wow.
so exciting. But that debut album from Portishead is just it's absolutely phenomenal. But there's a live album which I don't know if you've heard live from. I think it's from New York City,
Oh wow. Okay.
uh, and Glory Box on there, and the
Oh,
track.
live from New York City. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that record, holy shit, that is something special.
Mm,
Like it really, really showcases Beth's voice, and I would lean into the track Roads because that is the one that yeah, it's absolutely
wow.
stunning. But yeah, didn't even think of that. Porter said, fantastic shout. Right, it's your last track, Joe, and this is where you get to be a tastemaker. And I'm going to ask you, please, to tell me a song that you think many of my listeners may not know that you would like them to hear.
Mm, that's really okay. For I have to go with do you know Slow Burn by Casey Musgraves?
I do because you put it on your list and I listened to it and it is Beautiful. So tell everyone else why they should go and listen to it.
Guys, this song, so this song for me was like a turning point in my artist journey. I'd never heard anything like this before. This whole record, it won so many awards. It's like one of the most beautiful bodies of work ever. And Slow Burn's kind of the big one off of it. I mean, there's many other amazing ones, Rainbow in particular, beautiful songwriting. And I remember I listened to this when I had another bout of like Lyme's disease come back up and I was feeling so rough. And I listened to this whole album and oh my God, it felt like a warm hug. She was kind of doing, it's kind of got slightly psychedelic-y, warmy, trippy elements, but it's country and she took acid and then she wrote the song. And it literally fit like when you know that, it just feels like it. You're like, oh, this is slow burn. And it really it's so nice because so so often I find that I have to write music about things I'm struggling with or pain or something that I've been through in life that's tricky. This whole album is a celebration of love. It's a celebration of, it's like an I'm in love album and it's her best. It's like amazing and it's all about acknowledging like all I'm just going to go to the record. But I listened, yeah, definitely listen to Slow Burn. The way that song hits and the drop in the second chorus is like phenomenal. And yeah, it's just so good. The songwriting in it. So go treat yourself. Put it on, listen to the whole record, and just like feel warm for a bit.
Well, Joe, we make it nice and easy for people to do that because we put together a little Spotify playlist of all the songs that we've spoken about today.
Right.
Um, and obviously, we'll put your music on there as well because we've been banging on about so many other people's music. We ain't spoke about yours yet. So what's happening?
So I basically just released my first record.
That'll do, will it?
Yeah, released my first record. It's called Girlhood. Um, it is a kind of coming of age record, all about growing up. It's the record that I wish my mum gave me when I was growing up, and kind of about, you know, the anxiety and the pain, but the beauty you get, um, in that journey. And especially being a woman as well. And it's kind of like a celebration of all the nooks and crannies of womanhood and my journey so far.
Wonderful. And gigs?
Yeah, I'm at the moment I'm currently doing a tour. I'm doing a record store tour, so I'm playing in all the record stores all around the UK. Um, Up until the 20th of December, I'm doing like a headline, doing a homecoming show in Cheddar.
Oh,
Um,
amazing.
get your tickets. They're in my link in my bio. But yeah, I think I've got like 10 more, 9 or 10 more shows actually for between now and the 20th of December. Going to Surrey tonight, Oxford tomorrow, Leeds, Liverpool, Manchester next week, Brighton and London, Bristol and Cheddar the week after. And it's a combination of playing in record stores, these more kind of signing my record, doing a kind of acoustic setup with double bass and bouzouki and a guitar, which is really fun. And then I'm doing a few kind of like they're called gatherings. They're these shows I throw in pubs. I invite other female artists along, and they're kind of like a big jam. And I play unreleased stuff, and it's a bit more informal. But again, with that kind of folky double bass setup, it's really fun.
Oh,
So
that's so cool. And if
yeah.
and if people want to find out all about that, where's the best place to keep up to speed with all things you?
Just my on my Instagram in my bio, I've got a Joe Hill website, my Comey website, and it's got everything on there. Komi, and just type in Joe Hill. Um, and it should just be yeah, all on the website.
Wonderful. Well, Joe, if it's cool with you, when we drop this episode, if we tag you in it, then people can go and find you nice and easy if they haven't done already.
Gorgeous. Yeah, sounds great.
Joe,
Sounds
I've had an absolute blast. And I'll tell you what, you've nailed it, considering you didn't get the questions and I've just been lobbing them at you. You've absolutely bossed it. Honestly, Joe, it's been so lovely.
It's
Thank you
been
so
so nice chatting to you, Stu. Thank you so much for
much.
having me. Yeah, what a lovely way to spend an afternoon.
It's an absolute pleasure. I'm going to press stop, but don't go anywhere.
Okay, gorgeous.